Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Friday, August 28th. It's the end of another week. We have made it to Friday, and what a week it has been. Thank you for joining me here for your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We'll get you all caught up on everything you need to know on what's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio. First up, we'll do a quick recap of Night 4 of the Republican National Convention and a couple fact checks from our Verify team. Also, we'll let you know what the National Hockey League is doing after some backlash over not postponing games after the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And if you are a peaches lover, we'll let you know what you need to know about a potential salmonella outbreak and where a recall is happening. Plus, we will take you beyond the dugout with Cleveland pitcher Triston McKenzie. He had a conversation with our very own Dave Chudowski about his secret talents, the toughest thing that he's ever faced, and also why you might get a weird emoji from him if you happen to be texting with McKenzie. And our high school game of the week is back on. We'll let you know where you can catch Dave, DINO, DENATALE, and Tyler CAREY for tonight's coverage as high school football comes back. And we want you to tell us how you are celebrating if you can't be in the stands, how you are showing your school spirit from afar. First up, let's take a look at what happened at Night 4 of the Republican National Convention. President Donald Trump formally accepted the nomination from the Republican Party to run again as the presidential candidate in the upcoming election, which is less than 70 days away right now. He was introduced by his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and this all happened on the south lawn of the White House, which is something that is unprecedented for these modern times. At the White House, there were more than 1,500 people on the south lawn, and while the president was speaking, many of them were not wearing masks. It's also been reported by multiple outlets that people were not required to be tested for COVID-19 before coming to the event, raising some concerns for people as medical experts continue to recommend against these kinds of large gatherings. Let's take a look at some of the claims that were made during the Republican National Convention yesterday. This comes from our Verify team, some fact checking. There was a claim made by President Donald Trump that the Trump administration raised pay for the military 3 times. That is true, but it does require context. Since President Trump took office, the military has received a total of 3 pay raises. That is true. They were all on January 1st. In 2018, the raise was 2.4%. In 2019, the raise was 2.6%. And in 2020, the raise was 3.1%. However, it does need to be noted that the military receives a pay raise every year, and the Department of Defense says that unless Congress or the president act to set a different military basic pay raise, annual military basic pay raises are linked to the increase in private sector pay raises as measured by the Employment Cost Index. So it is something that does need to be actually affirmatively done every single year in order for the military to get that pay raise. There was a claim made by President Donald Trump that the Democratic candidate, former Vice President Joe Biden, opposes school choice and will close down charter schools. Our Verify team has determined that to be false. A set of policy recommendations released jointly by Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders in July. This is called the Biden-Sanders Unity Task Force recommendations. That set of recommendations suggests cutting funding for-profit charter schools, but expanding charter schools in underserved areas. And Biden does not mention an official stance on charter schools in his education plan on his campaign website. One more fact check for you. We have more on the website on WKYC.com, but one more to cover for you right now. President Donald Trump said what he called the Biden-Birdie Manifesto, quote, calls for abolishing cash bail, immediately releasing 400,000 criminals onto your streets and into your neighborhoods. Our Verify team has determined that to be false. And in order to get into this, you need to understand how the cash bail system works. Joe Biden does call for the end of cash bail. His campaign website calls the cash bail system a, quote, modern-day debtor's prison. But it is not true that ending a cash bail system would, quote, immediately release 400,000 criminals, as President Donald Trump claimed. Based on a 2016 report by the Department of Justice, more than 65% of the more than 700,000 people in county or city jails across the country were unconvicted. That's because when someone is arrested and charged with something, if they can't put up cash bail, they are kept in custody. These people are unconvicted people who are in custody. That's roughly 400,000 people in jails who have not been convicted yet of a crime. Sanders did introduce a bill to end cash bail, but it did not call for an immediate release of all of those 400,000 people. It allowed states and local courts to create what's called alternative pretrial protocols, or preventative detention programs. Even if all of those 4,000 people were released by a different bill or a law, the president's statement is still false because he labeled these unconvicted people as criminals. And in our legal system, we do have the presumption of innocence until you are proven guilty. So being in jail because you can't pay bail does not mean that you are guilty or a criminal. And that's how the cash bail system works here in the U.S. So that's why that claim by President Donald Trump has been determined to be false. Now, as we have been having even more of a national reckoning after the shooting by police of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the National Hockey League is joining other major sports organizations and postponing games. This is after being criticized for not doing so on Wednesday. It was the only major sports organization that didn't postpone any games on Wednesday, so the NHL decided to take Thursday and Friday off. The joint decision to put off those games was reached by the league and the NHL Players Association. This was after members of the Hockey Diversity Alliance asked the NHL to postpone the games. That alliance is made up of 9 current and former minority players within the NHL. So here's a joint statement that was released, saying, after much discussion, NHL players believe that the best course of action would be to take a step back and not play tonight's and tomorrow's games as scheduled. The statement came out yesterday on Thursday, referring to Thursday and Friday games. The statement went on to say, Black and brown communities continue to face real painful experiences. The NHL and NHLPA recognize that much work remains to be done before we can play an appropriate role in a discussion centered on diversity, inclusion, and social justice. So this statement came out shortly before the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Islanders were to play Game 3 of their playoff series. The other games that were supposed to take place on Thursday were between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks. That was to happen in Alberta. The other postponed games for today include Boston versus Tampa and Dallas against Colorado. So those games will begin to be rescheduled as of tomorrow, and we've got that listed out on WKYC.com if you want to see when you can catch those games. Now, if you like to eat peaches, you need to listen up to this because there is a recall of peaches linked to salmonella, and it has been expanded. California's Prima Wawona has voluntarily recalled its peaches due to potential salmonella contamination. Now, according to a food safety alert that was issued on Thursday, 78 people from 12 states have gotten sick tied to these peaches. The sicknesses occurred from June 29th to August 3rd, and at least 23 people have been hospitalized that we are aware of at this time. So several stores have already recalled the peaches. So the stores that you might shop at that have recalled the peaches include Aldi, Food Lion, Kroger, and its affiliated retailers, as well as Target and Walmart. There haven't been any reports of sicknesses yet in Ohio, but there have been some right next door in Pennsylvania. So the peaches are out there, they're in the area, so be careful if you are a peach eater. These peaches were distributed and sold in multiple forms, in bulk and individually, from June 1st to August 19th. So if you bought peaches during that time, I don't know if you bought peaches at the beginning of June, if they would still be good or around right now, but if you bought peaches in mid to early August, check those out and make sure you're not eating a peach that might potentially be tainted with salmonella. Okay, now let's take a look inside the life of Cleveland baseball pitcher Triston McKenzie. Our Dave Chudowski talked with him in a series called Beyond the Dugout and talked with McKenzie about the most difficult thing he's faced, his secret talent, and also what kind of a texter he is, what his favorite emoji is. Here is what McKenzie told Dave Chudowski. He told him if you see initials on his hat, those are for his cousin. He said he lost a cousin of his at a very young age. The child was 4 or 5 months old at the time, and he keeps her close to him. So he'll write her initials on his hat, and it's something that he keeps very near and dear in his heart. And he's always thanking God and thankful for being able to be healthy and go out there and play and just being alive and being able to do what he loves. He also shared a secret talent that he has. Apparently, McKenzie can solve the Rubik's Cube, and not only can he solve it, he can do it very fast. He can do it in under 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half, he said. This is something that he picked up during spring training in 2018. And if you happen to be on a texting basis with McKenzie and he sends you one of those emojis that looks like it's drunk, he says he promises it has nothing to do with alcohol, but he loves that emoji and he will send it to people if he's confused about something. So if you are texting and McKenzie's not quite understanding what you're saying, you just might get a drunk emoji from him. Speaking of sports, our high school game of the week is back. It was questionable whether or not high school football would be happening, at least in the fall, and what that was going to look like. And we are happy to say that our high school game of the week is back. This is hosted by our Dave, DINO, DENATALE, and we'll have post-game coverage from CAREY. Now, typically, we would ask you to vote on where you would like the high school game of the week to be. But things are a little bit different this year, of course. There are limitations in place. So the game has been decided. It will be Brecksville Broadview Heights versus Aurora. So the Bees will be taking on the Green Men tonight. And Dave DeNatale will be in the stadium live calling the game. After the game, he'll be joined by our digital producer, CAREY, with post-game coverage. Our coverage will begin at 6:50 p.m. That will be on WKYC.com, on the WKYC app, on Facebook Live, and on YouTube. So don't miss that. You're going to want to check that out. And here's what we want to know from you. We do know that stands will be limited. There will not be a lot of people allowed in the stadiums at the high school games taking place across Northeast Ohio tonight. I talked with some of the coaches at Maslin Perry High School in Stark County. They told me that their particular limitations are 3 tickets for every football player, band member, and cheerleader at home games. They're only able to give 200 tickets to the away team, and their band won't be traveling to the away games and those kinds of things. So that leaves a lot of people who would typically go to a Friday night football game who just won't be able to do that, at least not right now. So what we want to know is how you are showing your school spirit from afar. So while teams like Perry take on the Blue Streaks at home, we know that you'll be celebrating in your own home. A lot of the schools, including Perry, are live streaming the games, and we want to know how you're showing your support for the team without getting to be there in person. So please let us know. We're going to use your suggestions on What's New at 5 p.m. today. I'll be highlighting how you're showing your school spirit. So you can comment on our Facebook post. You can reply to our tweet. You can also text in a message with a photo if you have one to 216-344-3300. And you can send me something in Near Me on the WKYC app. That's super easy. Just pop open the app. After you get that greeting that says good afternoon or good evening, you'll see the little option that says Near Me. Tap on that. Tap on submit and send me your photo and your message, and we will have it. Also, let me know who you are and where you're from. Don't forget to include that information so I can give you proper credit and shout you out for it. That's it for your 3 News Now early update for Friday, August 28th. Feels good to say Friday, doesn't it? Yes, it does. I will see you back here at 3 p.m. with we get those new numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health. Everyone enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I'll see you back here shortly. I'm Stephanie Haney.